So what's going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel where today we are going to be looking at some storyline elements in Black Ops 7 Zombies. What we saw in the gameplay trailer, along with the footage and teasers that we've seen so far, because there have been mentions of characters we are very familiar with and hints of new faces. This one is too big and exciting not to start off on. The exfil screen. If you fail an exfil in Black Ops 7 Zombies, you get this. It is the southern shadow figure, Shadow Smith, whoever he is, with the zombie arms around him. Nothing too out of the ordinary there, but if you are successful in your exfil, a portal opens up in the telephone booth, and within it, you see Dr. Monty's house. And it says, teleport to the safe house, and when you do, this is the screen you get. Somebody's hand holding Dr. Monty's house in kind of this dark ether orb. Now, us seeing Monty's house isn't anything new. We saw it in Richtofen's snow globe on his desk in Reckoning, and we also saw it all the way back in Forsaken. Richtofen has had this snow globe of Monty's house. The simple explanation could have been is that he had it in his pocket when he travelled into this new dimension after the Tagdo ending. That is a rational and simple explanation, but now that we are being told when you exfil, you go to a safe house, and this is what we see. Dr. Monty's house. What is going on here? Because, yeah, when you think about it, where would our characters go to once they exfil when they enter this portal in the telephone booth in the Dark Ether? Would they teleport back to reality Earth, the normal world, or are we being told they're teleporting to Dr. Monty's house, which is the safe house? What does that even mean? And also, whose hand is this holding it? It looks like a female's. I'm just basing that off the shape of the nails. It could just be a well-groomed man that has very clean hands. I would like to think, though, if this was a man, Treyarch would make it a little bit more obvious. There's just something that tells me this is a woman's hand. Who would that be? Samantha, maybe? Well, we were told she was dead. Of course, we never actually saw it, so that couldn't be ruled out. And the way she was killed off was very suspicious to me. This could be Samantha Maxis's hand. It could be Ava Jansen, her daughter. But the fact we are seeing Dr. Monty's house being held by someone, and we are being shown this as we teleport to a safe house. Well, back in the old timeline, Dr. Monty's house was the safe house for the children. That was where they were supposed to grow up safely, away from the influence of the zombies. We also know in the Black Ops 7 storyline, someone, I would assume this person, although we haven't been told it directly, is attempting to restore the old multiverse, which would include Monty's house in Argotha. This is all so interesting to me. If Dr. Monty's old house is the safe house, then how and why? Because surely it would be in the Dark Ether, right? That's where it was banished to. Could it be in its own little pocket that's safe away from the zombies? Could Dr. Monty still be alive? I don't think this is Monty's hand, but he was too big of a character in my opinion to just be dead, because he wasn't dead at the end of Tag der Toten. He was still alive when he was banished into the Dark Ether. It was potentially the same for the Shadow Man, although for him I'm a little bit less convinced, because he was inside of the summoning key at the time that it was destroyed. But Monty may still be alive, and why would his house be a safe house? There was nothing special about it, aside from the fact that it was located in Argotha. But after it was all banished into the Dark Ether, well, in my opinion at least, it's no longer a safe house. Yet it seems from this image it's protected, kind of in its own little world inside of this snow globe, in its own pocket dimension almost, away from everything else. Safe. There has got to be some huge epic reveal with this at the end of this game's life cycle in DLC 4. I think we're just going to keep seeing this end screen in every single Black Ops 7 map, and then we're going to understand it. Looking at some different faces in Black Ops 7 Zombies, one of the ones that stood out to me were the twins. In this portion of the map on the wall, it says, "The twins lie." And then on this TV next to it, for a brief second, we see these two people side by side holding hands, and by the looks of it, they are females. This writing also appears on the screen in between these frames as well, which reads, "It must be awakened," along with this, two computer screens with identical information on them. Looking at this, I could be totally wrong here. Are these brains, and if so, would they relate to these two twins that we are seeing? I don't know. These could be brand new characters, but the first people that came to my mind when I saw this were Ava and the Entity from Modern Warfare 3. That game took place, I think it was in the year 2021, 2022, sometime in the 2020s, so almost 30 years after Black Ops 7 Zombies takes place, considering it is right after BO6, remembering time in the Dark Ether works differently. Giving you an example, 10 Earth years should equate to 100 dark ether years. The time dilation isn't always the same in the dark ether. Sometimes for some people it is slower, time moves faster, or it is on the same path, but judging by what the Forsaken told us, he was trapped in the dark ether for 300 years, which equated to 30 years in our time. That would also mean then, between Black Ops 7 zombies and Modern Warfare 3 zombies, 300 years would have passed in the dark ether. And I'm saying that because Aether and the Entity were essentially twins, born at the same time. Because Aether is a product of Samantha Maxis, Dr. Grey and Revanov. Elizabeth Grey was her surrogate, but Samantha Maxis and Revanov were her real parents, because Richtofen harvested Samantha's DNA, and we know he did this after she returned from the Dark Ether. And then Aether was born via Dr. Grey after Samantha had been banished into the Dark Ether again, or I should actually say, as we learned in The Reckoning, became trapped inside of the containment sphere with the Forsaken, where he consumed her, and the Dark Ether then broke the rest of her down. But because Aether had a link to the Dark Ether through her mother, when she was born, a Dark Ether manifestation of her was born as well, inside of there. So could it be, even though the reveal of the Entity hasn't happened yet and Aether hasn't even grown up, as we see these two people here look very much like adults, like grown people, that somehow we are witnessing what will become, or maybe time travel is involved? So far, up until where we are right now in the current zombie story, Black Ops 6, the start of BO7, time travel wasn't a thing. We could travel through space, but not time, going back into the past or forward into the future. But now that we're in the Dark Ether, could things be different? Are the twins Aether and the Entity? That would be the obvious one, but I think with the writing on the wall where it says the twins lie, to me that doesn't relate to those two. I would be more inclined to believe it's someone else. And also because, well, we know their story, this is not new to us, it wouldn't be a surprise. I feel like it's got to be referring to someone else. Some of the other names that have been thrown around are the two versions of Samantha, again the current iteration of Maxis, or at least before she was dead, and some other incarnation of her, even though we've only ever seen one version of Samantha throughout the entire COD Zombie storyline, taking it way back to the very beginning in Derice, or to Origins, or later on in Alpha Omega and Tag the Totem. It's always been the same iteration of Maxis from the same dimension, she just travelled between them. But the two twins being two Samantha Maxises could be a shout, it wouldn't be impossible. Other than that, it would have to be a new character, right? Because one of the other names you could have thrown out if it looked like these were both men were Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man, two beings who existed since the beginning of the cycle, and when it was banished to the multiverse, were thrown into the Dark Ether along with it. Monty and the Shadow Man weren't twins per se, but they were very similar in how they looked in their Dark Ether forms and how they acted. Both were corrupted by the Dark Ether and both had a lot of power. I know some people say that at one point in time, Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man were the same, based off that quote in Revelations where Dr. Monty says, if you cut a worm in half, which end do you really cut off, the arse or the head? But I've never really believed that. I don't think they were actually the same person. They were two different people who transcended into the positions they got into, two different beings that just became corrupted by the Dark Ether and both gained its powers. So I don't think the twins are Monty and the Shadow Man either, meaning more than likely these are new characters that we haven't seen in the zombie storyline yet. We are being told we can't trust them, that they lie. They sound like villains. We already have a new villain in BO7 Zombies, this guy. Could this have some relation to the Shadow Smiths? I don't know. I'm sure there are plenty of theories from here that you could come up with. And well, could it have any relation to the floating pyramid? When I first heard about this object in the Dark Ether from radios and leaks, I thought, could this be the Shangri-La pyramids that we see being ripped up by this astrophotic event? Could this pyramid be the one we see in the moon lunar screen? Or could it be the MPD that was banished into the Dark Ether? But looking at it, this is like nothing we have seen before. It is a stepped pyramid with an illuminated triangle at the top that is floating. Why this is here and what its purpose is, I don't know. Similar to the Construct, surely it's going to have some sort of power. I mean, the Construct's power was ultimate. Right now, where we are, it's almost impossible to say. You could theorize, but chances are, knowing Treyarch and what they've done with the story lately, you would be wrong. We also saw these people lying dead around the table in the farm area. In the background on the wall it says dinner is served, and just mentioning this, going back to the twins lie writing, there was so much of this in Black Ops 6 that really led to nothing. So many pictures that were spray painted onto the walls and so much writing that was written in blood, that for the most part, it felt like anyway, ended up being quite pointless. it either didn't mean anything or was not that important to the storyline. I'm not saying that's the case with this, but who was this family? Now that we can see them much clearer, this is not Victor's, and Treyarch told us at the COD Next event that this house was owned by a murderous family that had an underground kill bunker. So there's a story there. Was this the murderous family, or were these their victims? And if we go into the underground bunker, you see this box that has the same pattern on it, the same one that we saw Cortifex's cults use in Black Ops 6. We saw it on Terminus, I believe, and the Tomb, and underground in Shattered Veil as well. It's very similar to the pattern on these stones in Origins. It could have absolutely nothing to do with him, but making the connection, Cortifex had his cults make sacrifices, and the fact that this box is in the torture basement of the murderous family that lived here, could they have been followers of Cortifex? Could they have been his cult members? Maybe, maybe not. The thing in the center does kind of look like a planet, right? Saturn. So there's a few theories to go off there. The Origins box, which also contains that pattern. Aside from that, we see Ted in the Dark Aether, which makes sense because he would have been banished here at the end of Tag the Toten, along with everything else. So that would explain why we see Ted. We also see a Cosmodrome, which, even though it looks a little bit similar, is not the Ascension one. And from what other people have said, there is the Group 935 logo on the ground there. So judging by the name, it's Russian, but the Group 935 logo being imprinted there could be interesting. So there we go. Those are about all of the story hints that I could find from the trailers and the gameplay so far. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.